Hello, I am the Artfairy, and today we're going to be talking about how to actually step into the energy of an art fairy. And I think I was the best person to talk about this because I'm an art fairy myself. Yeah. So I found that the best way for me to tap into my artistry is through allowing it to flow freely, allowing it to perform as magic, and not even necessarily perform, just exist as magic, just exist freely, because magic is energy and it's ever flowing and it's free. So is art, and you can't put restrictions on your art. It isn't fair to you, it isn't fair to your art, and you aren't allowing magic to be created if you keep trying to stop yourself or constrain yourself to a certain way of creating. That's just not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay, so first things first, right? First things first. What are fairies, right? What are fairies? We have a societal perception of what fairies are. Obviously, we have my beloved favorites, Tinkerbell and Winx Club. And there are so many other renditions of fairies that we have in the media, in movies and shows, things like that. But fairies are actual beings, actual actual magical beings that have existed on this planet before time, before we can even conceptualize what life was, what life is. So yes, fairies, there are different types of fairies. There are tree fairies, there are fire fairies, there are earth fairies, there are trooping fairies. There are so many fairies in different categories. Just like us as humans, we have different races, we come from different backgrounds, we have different cultures. It's very similar to the categorization of fairies, but they aren't separated like we are as humans. Their classifications put them in certain spaces, but energetically they aren't separate beings because they're magical. So magic cannot really be separated because it's an energy. So yeah, they aren't separated as magical beings, which is so beautiful and so cool. And we think that fairies are beautiful and magical and nice and kind, and they definitely can be, but of course with everything there's duality. Fairies can be very mischievous and spiteful, and if you want to put a label on it, I guess evil, but I wouldn't really say evil. I would just say unpredictable. They're magical creatures. They have no sense of good or bad like we do. So they just exist. They just exist as they wish. They just exist as they want to. They do what they want, and that can be good to us or bad to us, but for them it's just action. It's just what they do, it's what they create. And I think having that concept is very good as an artist, because when you create art, you don't perceive it as good or bad. And don't get me wrong, obviously if you make something and you want it to look a certain way and it might have not come out in the way you expected it to, it's okay for you to think that it's bad, but I wouldn't say that it's bad. It's just unexpected. It's something that you weren't expecting to happen, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Especially when it comes to art, nothing I feel like in art can truly be bad or even good. Something like my paintings, my art is beautiful and I love it. That's why it's good. It's all about how you perceive the world and how you perceive your art. And I feel that tapping into the free nature, the free nature that fairies have, has really encouraged me and helped me through navigating who I am as an artist. And it's helped me become the art fairy. And yes, so back to fairies, back to what fairies are, what they embody, and what they create, right? So like I was saying, there's different fairies, they have different categories, they do different things. And there are certain ways that we can connect to fairies, like to that energy, and that's just by understanding them. That's just by reading about fairy mythology, about the fae, about anything that you feel like could connect you closer to that, whether it's making art, whether it's watching a certain show, anything that you feel like could connect you, because it's a personal connection. And just knowing that fairies are just cool, they just exist. They protect the earth, they live on the earth, they create energies that we aren't even aware of, that I'm not even aware of. And just knowing that everything exists at all times is crazy, but it's also so freeing, because you can make anything you want at any given time. Like, nobody's stopping you, nothing is stopping you. And just embracing that, like I said, just embracing that free nature that fairies have. They aren't bound to anything. They aren't bound to the earth. They aren't even bound to this world even. Like, they exist on their own plane. They exist on their own energetic plane. So yeah, when you see that, you can easily tap into that. You can be just as free as a fairy when it comes to your art and when it comes to your life. Like, when you really think about it, what is stopping you from creating authentically? What is stopping you from creating freely? What is blocking? Like, what is the mind blockage that you have that's telling you that you can't create certain things, even though you want to, and even though you know you can? What is it? So yeah. So yes, okay. So that's what fairies are. That's a very broad, I guess, description of fairies. I'm definitely gonna do an interview. I'm definitely gonna do a video explaining what fairies are, what are their categories, what do they do, like just very, explaining that thoroughly. But that's not the point of this video. But I do want to read one more thing before I hop into how I live as the art fairy and how you could live as your own art fairy. Like, I'm going to just read one quick little thing from my fairy book. Okay, so here's what it says, guys. Fairies of the earth are caretakers of our soil, water, and trees. They watch over beautiful creatures such as bears, bunnies, and bees. Fairies ask that you breathe in and appreciate the vantage point from which you stand. Then trod carefully and respectfully with each intentional step you make across this beautiful land. By Molly Friedenfield. This comes from the book of the Simple Human Truths. And I'm going to put it up there so you guys can read it as well. So, yes, that was that. Okay, so how can you tap into the art fairy essence? And this is something that I've realized for about a couple months now, and what I've been existing in and what I will continue to exist in for the rest of my time on Earth. So I have been someone who is very intuitively creative. Like, I know how to create easily. Like, it comes to me easily at all times, at any given time. I can be doing anything. I could be washing the dishes, sweeping. Literally, anything that I'm experiencing is art, so I transform it into art. The music I listen to is art, so I transform that into my own art. It's always a give and take. The world is constantly giving you life. It's constantly giving you art. And as humans, I don't think there's any other choice for us but to actually create more, because that's just pouring back into the world, pouring back into other people, and pouring back into the same energy that gave that to us. Like, the world is constantly giving. Like, you see the trees, you see grass, you see nature. That's art in itself. There's no way that someone can look at nature and not create art from that. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy. I think people believe that it's hard to create, but it's really not. It's really, really not. It's really not. I think you just have to find what aspect of art draws you in the most. And for me, the way I have it mapped out in my head, right, I've created this entire new programming for myself, I guess I can call it that. I don't really know. I think I'm gonna change the name, but I think I'm gonna call it that. So, me being the art fairy, that is completely encompassing every single aspect of art. Not every single aspect, just because if we want to get into every single aspect of art, that can go on forever. So, and I want to get to that point where I'm tapped into every single aspect of art so that I can create in several different ways forever. Like, that's the goal. But as of right now, I would say that I'm very inclined to painting, drawing, creating these videos. Like, creating these videos is art. So I guess, would that be filmmaking? Yeah, right? I think that would be filmmaking. I love photography. I love videography. I love cinematography. I just have a very special connection to several aspects of art. Architecture, I love learning about architecture, about how things were made, how buildings are created. Sewing, I love to sew since I was a little kid. I dreamed of, like, opening my own fashion line. And I'm not even saying, like, that dream can still happen, but I'm just focused on other aspects of my art fairiness right now. Yes, I love to sew. I honestly prefer sewing by hand. Unpopular opinion. I prefer sewing by hand. It's just fun. Like, it's really just fun to sit there and sew. But it's definitely easier, and you can do a lot more with a sewing machine, so obviously. But yes, so I'm just very... And music. I was about to forget music. Music is... And I think as a society as a whole, we are completely consumed by music. Do you not see how stadiums get filled up in the way they do? Like, we are consumed by music, but we have this limited connection to it because we don't understand that it's art. Like, we're not just listening to things. This is art. These are like sound waves that are making an impression on your mind. Music affects the way you feel. Like, that's some intense shit. Like, that's intense, yo. So, yeah, what was I saying? Yes, tapping into all those energies and extensions of art is why I classify myself as the art fairy, and because I'm genuinely on a journey to extend my capacity as an artist, not just limiting it to one specific thing, just truly expanding it. Oh my God, and I love to write. I'm an author. I'm literally an author. I'm literally an author, guys. Like, I'm writing a book right now. But, yeah, so just expanding my capacity to understand art, to be in the just constant state of creating. And, like, you don't even need to make paintings to create, honestly. By breathing, you're creating. You know, like, by breathing, you're literally creating. Your carbon dioxide is going directly to the plants, it's going directly to the trees. And they create that into oxygen. You know, it's a constant cycle of creation. But to really understand one's emotions and one's mental state, whether it's good or bad, it's important to create. It's genuinely important to create. And you really need to find hone into one specific creation, hone into one specific aspect of your art, of your being, because your art is you. They're not separate. So if you love to sew, if you truly have a passion to sew, focus on that. Focus on making clothes, focus on being a designer, focus on creating clothes for anything, literally anything. It doesn't even have to be clothes. It can be curtains, it can be blankets, it can be carpets. Anything that you want to sew it, make it, create it, literally create it. Just stay focused on that, and then you'll see but you also have to allow yourself to see it. You'll see yourself start to flow into other aspects of art, because then this is how it works, right? Okay, you like to create dresses, right? You create custom dresses you hand make them yourself. You obviously have to get them out there to people. So what do? You create content for social media so that people can receive your work and then compensate you. It's literally a cycle of creation, and then you find yourself in the state of loving to film your own art, loving to film your creations, thinking of several ways on how you can promote your art so the consumer can be drawn in to what you've created. And all of that is art. Thinking of content is art. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not thinking of captivating content that is just authentic to you, of course, but also content that brings the right people in, because you want to bring the right people in to your space, to your artistic space. That's the most important thing, honestly. It's the most important thing, honestly, because you don't want to have people who don't align with you, with your message, with your art, in your space. I mean, that's gonna happen, but you don't want to draw that in yourself. That's why it's always important to stay authentic as possible. Yes. So just focusing on an aspect of yourself, an aspect of your art that you want to really work on, is how you become an art fairy. Yeah, so it's like, if you want to focus on one thing, be the fairy of that. Be the fairy of writing. Be the art fairy of designing. Be the art fairy of beauty. Be the, and beauty, when I'm talking about beauty, it's like those, what's it called? Guys, I'm forgetting. What's it called? Makeup artist. Yes, makeup artist. Makeup artists, people who do makeup, people who do art while using makeup. You're a fairy, you're a magical being. That is literally art. Be the art fairy of makeup. Be the art fairy of, I don't know, anything, literally anything. Be the art fairy of dance. Be the fairy of dance. Anything that your heart is calling you to be into fully, that's your power. That's your magic. And you can't run away from that, because it's not doing you any good. You cannot run away from it. You can't hide from it, because it's the more you hide from it, the more you weigh yourself down. The more I ignored my passion to create, the more I didn't feel like myself, because like I said, art is an extension of you, but it is also you. So there's no way that you can really run away. What are you running away from yourself? You're running away from yourself? Yeah, it's that was never gonna work. Never, ever, 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 ever gonna work. Yeah, so once you really start to realize that your artistic abilities are magical, and you really tap into that fairy, that mischievous, free, fun energy, you begin to create freely, and nothing can stop you from there. Literally nothing can stop you from there. Any limiting beliefs that you had surrounding your art are instantly gone, because you know that who's limiting me? Society? So what? So what? You have to know your art is powerful. Your art deserves to be in the world, and really, really, and I'm going to keep emphasizing this, really realizing that your art is magical is truly the key to being in it fully. Because what? I'm a wielder of magic. I can wield magic with my own creations. That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's truly a beautiful thing. And you could share that with others, and others will share that with you. And now you're making these connections that are just as beautiful as the creations you're putting out. It's like come on. It really doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't get better than that. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I'm talking to myself too through these videos, and just making this form of art, this form of creation is truly empowering, because I get to sit and talk about my creations through another creation. Like, what? To another creations, to other creations. Like, that's what I'm saying. Art is truly a cycle, and that cycle is magical. It's what keeps this earth alive. It's what keeps it moving. It literally keeps it moving. Without creation, the earth would die. And that's why the earth is dying. That's why the earth is dying. Because of climate change, for one. We're not going to get into that in this video. But for one. And two, sometimes I look at people and look at the things they talk about and look at the world, and I honestly don't focus on that as much, because I know that I'm someone who is putting life into the world, and I know that there are so many other people that are putting life and radiance and love into the world through their art or through anything that they do. And so I try not to focus on that as much, but when I do, take a minute to, really look at what's going on, people are losing the point. There's think pieces on people's outfits. There's think pieces on red carpet dresses at the Met Gala. And I don't think the think pieces are a bad thing, but I do think that it gets very negative when other people start to put other people down for their art, because what they wear is their own personal art. It's what it is. And it's like, you don't have to like it. But I just don't understand why people would actually get on platforms to express negativity about art. And those people, I have to understand that they just don't understand that art is completely subjective and neutral. Art is neutral. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to like it, and you can like it. It can be either or. And definitely, it's like, if you want to express your dislike for something, do that. But do it in a critical way, in a critical thinking way. Don't just talk to talk. Don't demean people just to demean them because you didn't like something that they did. Because at the end of the day, that's their art, and that's what it is. And I feel like as humans, we have to respect that, because we're creations ourselves. So how can we not respect another form of creation? That's weird. That's weird. So yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, and it's like, there's just no point for that. There's literally just no point for that. So yes, back to what I was saying. Just genuinely find your art, find your magic, whatever that may be. Don't limit yourself. Don't feel like you have to go about it in a certain way, because like I said, magic it flows. Fairies are free. They exist between time and space. They exist beyond what we even know, what we can even understand. And if they can do that, we can definitely tap into that energy ourselves, because we're just as magical as anything else. We're just as magical as the fairy tales that we've been told. We're just as magical as literally the world, as nature. We're just as magical as nature. We have the ability to create spontaneously, endlessly. But you really have to decide to do that and give up on the whole idea of I have to do it right. I have to do it right. I have to do it in a certain way, because that's never going to work, because your magic is your own, and no rule book, no societal norm can really tell you how to go about it, because it's your own. You create it. You create the way you create, if that makes sense. You create your art. So yeah, that was really it. This was a really nice video. I'm just excited to keep creating, to keep sharing my creations, my experiences as the art fairy. And I just hope I can create a village of other art fairies, of other art dance fairies, of art fairies of writing, art fairies of singing, art fairies of music. Yeah, because that's what we need. That's what we need. That's what I need. It's what you need. We need a village. We need a community of artists, of magical artists who are really tuned in to their magical abilities. Yeah, like, I know y'all understand. I know y'all understand me. Even nail art fairies. Like, come on. Nail art is crazy, y'all. Like, the ability to draw at such a small scale on a nail, not even on canvas, not even on paper, on a nail. There's just so many levels to this. Like, there's so many levels to this, and there's love and appreciation at every single level. There's magic at every single level. And we really need to understand that and tap into that so we can create even more. We can create even more freely. Your art comes from you. Your art comes from you. It literally does. I promise you it does. It doesn't come from anything else. It comes from you. It doesn't come from trends. It doesn't come from social media. It doesn't come from what your friends are telling you to do or to create, what your family's telling you to create. It comes from you. That's the only way you'll be able to create freely and authentically. That's the only way you'll be able to see your magic, through creating authentically. Like, look at where I'm sitting. Look at where I'm sitting. I'm just surrounded by my beauty, surrounded by my art. And that translates into physical beauty, obviously. Obviously. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm just really happy to continue creating. I'm working on an art fairy series, a book. Well, an art fairy series of books. I'm just this is all fresh and new though. I'm creating the storyline, creating the characters. I don't have her on me right now, but I'm creating the characters. It's so much fun to create. It's so much fun to make. It's so much fun to have these wonderful magical ideas of who I want these art fairies to be. I'm making it into an animated series, a cartoon series, and I'm just excited for all of that to unfold. But I'm on the beginner stages right now, which is so much fun because it's just getting new ideas, making new stuff all the time. And yeah, I'm also very interested in making a coloring book. So all of that and so much more coming very, very soon. And yeah, I'm just excited for everyone to just follow me on my journey. And I'm also excited to experience other people's journeys through the connections that I'm making through my video form of art. So yeah, that's been it for this video. I truly hope that you took something away from this, and I implore you to tap into the fairy-like, the magic, the majesty of your art so you can create freely and beautifully and as it was always intended for you to be. So yeah, I love you guys so much, and tune into the next video. Have a magical day. Bye, bye, bye.